Welcome to the Stewart Squared podcast. Got another amazing episode of this podcast where we're going to go into the father and son dynamic. My dad just traveled back from Hong Kong and is in the SFO airport, but we record every week no matter where we're all going. Usually for the past 15 years, I've been more nomadic and traveling all over the place, but now your schedule is bringing you everywhere in the world. Can you share what you learned in Hong Kong about capital inflows and the changing nature of the global order? What did you learn in Hong Kong?
Zero. No, I went to Hong Kong on business and did business on Friday. Got there Thursday night, and sorry, I dropped my phone. And then I spent Saturday wandering around Hong Kong with my main intent, and today is Sunday. And the main intent of determining whether Hong Kong is the same city it was before it was handed over, because the last time I was there, it had not yet been handed over. I think it was like 2012, and I don't remember when the handover took place, but
1997.
the handover happened in 1997.
Yeah. That was 1997 is when, because I remember there was a Jean-Luc Van Damme thing. There was a movie from him, and so it said in that movie that they were going to make the handover in '97, which I watched in the '90s, and so that's like informative.
Seems to make sense,
But there was a bunch of other events that happened afterwards. Like it wasn't full on like China now owns Hong Kong. It was a slow drip, and I'm sure there were a bunch of. I think the stock market thing was the most interesting.
No, you're right. 1997. Well, that's interesting because Charlotte, if you remember, and I went on a 3-week tour of China, PRC, and we launched from Hong Kong. And it was an amazing trip and learned a lot about China. But our tour guides were still representatives of the Communist Party. And we happened to have a tour guide who had been the tour guide for Bill Clinton, and when he visited China some number of years earlier. And so she had all kinds of stories about taking the Clintons around China. Anyways, that was a fascinating trip. And, we hit the sites. We went to Guilin, which is where the little hills are. Then we went to Xi'an, where the warriors are, and that's where I acquired my warrior. The listeners don't know, I have a complete replica of a warrior king from the Xi'an clay soldiers, which were discovered, buried there like hundreds of years ago, and then discovered earlier, well, in the 20th century. So that was kind of my reference point. I've been to China other times, but more for business. And so I really wanted to find out if was there a difference in Hong Kong. And I know there are differences, but they're not necessarily visible. And so still a huge number of Chinese people, wall to wall. And lots of high-end stores and great shopping, and a lot of people on the street. No presence of police that I could determine, at least to my eye. But I had no insight into the capital flows in and out of China, or, same big banks that there, HSBC and Bank of America, all have tall buildings on Hong Kong Island. And same hotels on the Kowloon side, the peninsula, and others, very high end.
So I'm sharing my screen here because the first time probably last time I was in Hong Kong was in 2013. And this was the first place where I ever noticed that everyone around me was on their phone all the time, walking around. And so that was in 2013, and that was before it happened everywhere else. but it soon happened everywhere else that you go out on the street and everybody's paying
So,
it. Yeah.
so my memory is that I stopped in Hong Kong on my way to Vietnam and then Thailand. And I think Brother Joe, Brother Jason, and myself all hooked up with you in Bangkok.
That was in 2008 or probably 2009. Yeah.
I thought that was 2012, but here's part of the phenomena you're talking about
No,
is
sorry, you're right. You're right on that one. That one was
yeah.
2012. Yep. Yep.
So it was a year before you went to Hong Kong
Yep.
the last time. And so on my way, this is what I remember in memory is not as good as definitive data. That I stopped. I had like a 7-hour layover in Hong Kong on my way to whichever city I went to, whether it was Bangkok or Saigon.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I guess we went to Bangkok first and then to Vietnam. So I'd be on my way to Bangkok, and um, I'd heard about this fabulous dim sum hole in the wall that had been started by a chef from the Ritz-Carlton. I'd been a chef for the Ritz-Carlton. I said, screw this, I'm going to go start my own little dim sum shop. So I had the address and I had my iPhone what 4. And I took the train in, the express train in from the airport, got off on Kowloon side and walked from there to the dim sum shop and watching my phone the whole time. My phone was basically taking me through, because, in Hong Kong, there's nothing, there's a few things in English, but not very much. So it says Nathan Road, right? To go off Nathan Road, you're going into the back streets. And so I found it. And I went in there and I was the only low in the restaurant. And I ordered way too much. I think I ordered like 6 of those bamboo containers of dim sum. And they were all the people around me are like holding their hands up to their mouth and giggling about the big white guy. And they all wanted to see if I could finish it. And I did, actually. But then I had a problem getting back to the train station. And iPhones back then didn't last very long. So I was sitting there going like, okay, I better hoof it to the train station so I can get back to the airport. That was a unique experience. And I saw you right after
that. Did you actually mark that restaurant down and did you go back there this last time?
This is part of the problem with technology. Like 12 years ago, whatever happened to my email or
we can talk about that.
Certainly, yeah. So
that's
no, and it'd be really hard for me to figure that out because I'd read somebody had referred me to it, and I looked it up, and so I knew what it was. But all my search history, all that kind of stuff is gone.
Well, you could probably let Claude into your email. Well, Claude or ChatGPT or even Google has their own thing, and you could probably find it via having one of the agentic solutions go and find it. But that's sort of a tangent because I want to talk about what I've had on my screen for here now is that insight that I had in Hong Kong was everybody was on the left in the social network thing. And so they're all on their phones and they're all connected in networks to everyone else. And on the right-hand side of this graphic that I've got going, if you're listening on Spotify, you can see it by going on the YouTube channel and subscribing. But you can see here that it's essentially like this crazy graphic of cyberspace where we got drones and we got a space grid and space communication satulites are peering down.
How old is this chart? How old is this chart?
It's a good question. So hopefully I'm not going to dox a bunch of my friends here. But so I just opened, this is from 2013. Oh, wow. This is really early from a RAND paper called Redefining.
The last time you were in Hong Kong?
Yeah, it's actually right. It's actually very similar to the time that I noticed everybody was on their phone. So very predictive. Redefining information warfare boundaries for an army in a wireless world. That's crazy. This is 12 years old. The RAND Corporation saw this coming a mile away. Actually, that's a really good segue into wherever else we're going. What is the RAND company? What is your understanding of the RAND company? When did you start paying attention to them, if at all? When did they show up on your radar?
It's been around for decades. And I believe has been a trusted consultant / advisor to the U.S. government, with a real focus on defense. We have to stop calling it defense now. We call it war. Like,
At least it's a little bit more honest.
well, I know, but it's like it used to be called the Department of War, but that's because all we ever did to defend ourselves was to go to war. It's still kind of true. So I don't. It's part of the military-industrial complex that I grew up with as a
But you
as a
never,
teenager.
in your business or in your investigations or your journalism, you never ended up liaisoning with any of the large primes. Is the Rand Corporation a prime? Like what?
No,
So you, yeah.
no, it's a. I mean, you have to look this up, but I'm pretty sure it's a part of the Beltway Bandit group.
Beltway
Large
Bandits.
consultancies. Do you know what I mean by Beltway Bandit?
I get
There's
it.
a road.
The Washington D.C.
The road
Beltway.
around DC
Yeah.
is called Beltway, and so
Yeah.
bandits come from inside the Beltway.
But that's not a prime. That's not a
No, there are people that live off the U.S. government, but they're not prime contractors. Prime is the first word in prime contractor, which is mean you contract with the government to make them something.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. I love Beltway Bandit. So Rand Corporation is one of the Beltway Bandits, and this is like ultimate deep state.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when the government goes through cost cutting, they tend to cut the bandits first because it's consulting, right? They can't cut people making them submarines or aircraft carriers. In theory, they couldn't cut a bunch of other people, although Trump has just done that through Doge and other means. So you talk to anybody in the government, their prime experience right now is that there aren't enough people to do the work they used to be doing. So they're having to decide what work to do and what not to do. Might be a healthy thing. And I think in my head that it is slightly healthy that we're going through this, albeit painful process.
So we got one example is Booz Allen Hamilton, but it sounds like you never it sounds like you never went into this sort of world. I'm going to go do a bunch of research into it. So let's go back to that graphic and Hong Kong and the information age. That's the craziest thing about now traveling. It's like you can get a vibe. So you got the vibe of Hong Kong, but the vibe of Hong Kong doesn't really show you what's going on. All these things about we talk about on the show, like the Chinese government.
Okay, but we have been talking about this. We talked about all this stuff, like the Great Firewall.
Yeah.
And there was a breach recently in the Great Firewall, which, if there have been some in the past, we didn't know about it. But it was, it was like people are like very upset. There's 500 gigabytes of data that were leaked out. 500 gigabytes. They have extensive records on every citizen of China, which is 1.4 billion people. They must have like quad bytes. What comes after T? Terabytes, and then what's after that?
I don't know.
Petabytes, I think is next. Anyway, so they must have this huge database because the one thing you don't get in China is privacy, and much less rights and other things. But they keep track of everybody, and they have a social score for everybody, right, that rules whether they can get credit and other things. So it's a very different environment. So I was thought 500 gigabytes. That's like put that on a little flash drive. No, doesn't seem like a lot. That was a bit of a tangent. Yeah.
But Hong Kong is not part of China, so Hong Kong is out there.
Hong Kong and Tibet are what are called SARs, specially administered regions. So they're not technically part of China, and they can operate differently. But China certainly controls them. So I may not have seen police, right? There was the Troubles. I think that's what they called it. There were demonstrators in Hong Kong demonstrating against the Communist Party. And
yellow shirts.
No, that's France, I think. But I think yellow shirts are in France. It's something like that. I mean, there was civil unrest in Hong Kong, and the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, does not tolerate tension or unrest or any kind of instability. So they put that down pretty quick. Now, our Uber driver Uber works in Hong Kong, by the way. And our Uber driver going out to the airport kind of this morning, but sort of yesterday. She was very proud of how, you could bring your luxury goods anywhere and put them down on the street and nobody would steal them. Streets are clean. There's no violence, no homeless people. A very controlled environment. So probably in 2012, there were homeless people there. I don't remember that.
Well, that was it in Shanghai? I was in Shanghai in 2007. I went to school in Shanghai in 2007, and during that time, there were people selling fake Rolexes on the side of the street, which might still exist, but who knows whether that's specific. Okay, so that specific type of crime has probably been eliminated. Yeah, but
I mean,
doesn't mean,
should they keep track of you during COVID and threw in jail or something, if you didn't quarantine? A very detailed control over the population.
Yeah. And this is what they leaked, was that they were selling all of that technology to Pakistan, Myanmar, and Ethiopia, and a few other countries. So we got actual information. So I found out, I don't think we talked about this last week, but I found out that the Pakistani government can simultaneously track 4 million people through the phone networks. So China can do that for probably their entire population. They probably have 95% overview surveillance for their entire population through this scoring.
So Gilman believes, and he knows more than I do, that as soon as you land at an airport in China, including Hong Kong airport, they suck everything off your phone, put it in the database.
Oh, man.
Now, what I've learned recently is the U.S. is doing this too.
Yeah.
I read the story about this guy flying from Australia, and he said by the time they landed, they had everything on his phone and were asking questions about, this article he wrote and pictures he took and that were on his phone. So it's not like they're the only ones doing it.
So that's really interesting. It relates to a story that I've heard from an Argentine friend who recently went to the U.S. border. This is new for me, and I'm going to ask you later for that article because this is something that I track very strongly. My friend went to Argentina, went to Miami, had previously worked in Miami, and when they asked her about her previous work experience, she lied. And she basically got there, she lied, and then they're like, okay, we know you're lying. We asked you a bunch of tricky questions. So now please come back with us to this back room. And then asked for her password for the phone, asked for basically a bunch of details. And then finally, once they went into her phone, I imagine that they downloaded everything. I imagine that they probably put something like a Pegasus root access, or at least downloaded the entire contents of the phone. But then at the end asked her for a DNA swab. So and this is what Trump is doing. Trump is essentially taking the entire surveillance state apparatus, centralizing the databases in the background, and creating profiles in the same way that China did, which was a big surprise to me because I voted for Trump on the assumption that the COVID surveillance state would be dismantled, and I have now found out. Yeah.
Now we know.
Yeah.
The both times.
So there was 3 times. I did not vote. I voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016. Then my worldview got totally shocked and thrown off by the fact that actual Trump won. Started to question the reality of everything I had been told about the Clintons and all the other stuff. And by 2020, then COVID happened. And by 2020, COVID happening, basically full force switched all of a sudden to, okay, well, I definitely don't believe the Democrats have anything relating to integrity, seen as what they did about COVID. So then I switched to Trump, voted for him more as just like, let's end the COVID stuff. Didn't happen. Then in 2024, definitely wasn't going to vote for Biden again.
In 2020.
No, in 2020, I voted for Trump, but as a refusal vote. And then 2024 was actually kind of hopeful that he was going to do some of the things that he had talked about, because in 2016, he was talking about the deep state. And by 2024, I was fully I was bought in to the fact that there was this deep state. They were doing this surveillance statism. then have recently found out that Trump is essentially, instead of stopping the deep state, he's now gotten the deep state and is using it for his own goals, basically.
I think that worse. Just checking my plane. Yeah, I still show it on time. Interesting. So, maybe we can talk about Trump, but maybe not.
Well, no, I want to go back to that Gilman. Gilman thinks that in China, you land in China, they get access to your phone. You have the technical knowledge, or at least the things that, which is like, how does somebody gain access to a phone remotely on an airplane? Is that possible?
Not on the airplane, in the airport. They can crack Bluetooth and all that stuff, Wi-Fi, and go in and look at your phone. So when Gilman travels, because he does have security clearance, he does not take his phone with him.
Yeah,
he takes a burner phone,
of course,
so people can reach him, and he takes like a blank computer, so you can write stuff and do work. They didn't bring anything with him that has his stuff on it. So no, I just took my notebook and my phone to Hong Kong, and my attitude is, hey, welcome to it. Go see, entertain yourself. It's like, as long as my banks protect me so they can't get my money, and I don't have any secrets. So I'm not cleared for having secrets. So, I mean, and they can't deny that I'm an American. I'm 73 years old and born in America to Americans, and there's nothing. So the question on the deep state thing is, are they just doing this for non-citizens? And how do they know? How do they know that your phone's a citizen phone while everybody else's is not?
So, I mean, and clearly, I now think that they're not. They are definitely doing it on U.S. citizens. That's my main gripe, is that I recognize that national security is important. That information as a part of national security is now the prime advantage. And so, but going back to my grandfather, your father, as the CIA was getting started in that time, the key thing was we don't use this on our own citizens. In the Church Committee in the 1970s, we found out that they were in fact doing it on American citizens, and the FBI was in on it too. And so, obviously, they're doing it on U.S. citizens now, particularly with Trump. Trump is now basically saying free speech is no longer important. So even though there are U.S. or people applying for, they're basically surveilling U.S. citizens for whether they do any speech. Yep.
So what's really funny is how people react to this. Especially sending the National Guard and the Marines in. And it's never been true that we used our own troops against our own citizens. And so, that was always local police and maybe National Guard in an emergency. But and so he sent the National Guard into Portland. And the city of Portland, it's on Threads at least. I don't know if it's on Twitter, but the hashtag is like warfare in Portland. Portland warfare, something like that. Something. It is hilarious. They're going, it's all this stuff about how the troops have been completely mystified by, the coffee shops and the bagels and, Portlandia, basically. It's like, and so the city of Portland has risen up with a sense of humor, which is just really funny. And that's probably the only way to deal with it is with humor. Because it's like, they're sending National Guard into Portland, and those are nice people up there.
This is the weird. So we're in the information age, and the industrial age answer to that is you send in the National Guard, like what's his name did with the integrating the schools. But now we're in the information age, and when you send in the National Guard, everybody's taking videos of it. And you've got also the propaganda armies that are on the internet, which basically they're called sock puppet armies. And this happened in COVID. Basically, a huge part of the COVID stuff was because there were sock puppet armies that were going in, and bot armies that they would propagate various narratives. both foreign governments and our own government and the Israeli government. Every government was doing it, and also non-aligned, non-state actors. Oh,
Can you see I'm on the split today? You hear that?
Yes, I can. That's really weird that I can hear it.
Speaker's
Yeah.
right above me.
So
sorry, listeners. I'm in an airport and I can't stop it.
And we'll do the background noise removal. So hopefully we'll get rid of that. But so you're actually the governments are sending in military, and we've got Trump who's essentially doing all this stuff. What do you think? We're in the information age, and there's hard power and there's soft power. We're in the information age. The hard power and the soft power are different from the industrial age. What do you think about what is the soft power of the information age? And what is the hard power of the information age? And I'll give you my guesses to kind of like focus it. Hard power is money. Hard power is money because you can go in and you can spread, like what is the Israeli government's doing is they're going to flood TikTok. TikTok is owned by Larry Ellison. Do you know about this?
Not yet. TikTok is not owned by anybody new yet. They've made a deal, but they haven't actually done the transaction. Most people consider money and data as hard power. Right? The more data you have, the more you know about people, the more you can manipulate what's going on. And 3 more minutes to board this flight. So we're going to have to put up with this for the next 3 minutes. Hard power in the industrial age was hardware, submarines, and ballistic missiles, and aircraft carriers, and stuff like that. That's still true in a conflict that hard power is hard, but equally as much as information. So it's really hardware plus data in a conflict. But the people react to these huge tech companies as, well, I have unlimited money. I mean, you referred to Larry Ellison, that helped his son buy Paramount, but made an offer for Warner Brothers Discovery. He's going to participate in the TikTok purchase, although that's not totally certain. It's not clear who's really buying TikTok yet, because Trump's out there just kind of making it up. We're not sure exactly what's happening. But money. When you have billions and billions of it, like Elon Musk and Larry Ellison are kind of competing for the richest guy in the world.
Mm.
And you know that Tesla has awarded Musk with $1 trillion of incentives.
Yeah.
People always mess with this stuff, and it's like, okay, there has to be a difference between the strike price and the purchase price. So he won't net $1 trillion. The stock he's being awarded is worth $1 trillion. They'll have to pay for it too.
Huh. Okay, so that was interesting. I want to go investigate what you meant by that, and also the warrants we talked about a few days ago while you were in Hong Kong. But we're not going to do that on this particular tangent. So let's go back to, you said something about Ellison that was interesting. Well, so how did Oracle get into this position? Because we've talked about Oracle several times in this podcast, including the last couple of weeks, where we talked about how Sam Altman is doing the sort of Oracle play where Oracle made up a bunch of numbers, and then it didn't matter by the time they raised the money and started the company, because by the time they did that, they were already past the point at which they were too big to fail. Sam Altman is playing that game, where he's essentially making stuff up about however many billions are going into the data center, and that's rising the stock price. And now Oracle and ChatGPT are now getting in on the game together, and they're all both sort of like leveraging all the statements to
specifically Oracle said it would invest $100 billion in OpenAI.
Oh,
it was already building with OpenAI Stargate project, I think it's called, in Texas. which is hundreds of billions of dollars for data centers. And they're both doing that. Um, the the Oracle OpenAI thing, the most recent thing is people felt like they were round tripping the
Mm,
money.
mm.
So they're going to put 100 billion, but they're going to make more than 100 billion from OpenAI. So it'll be circular, which is a legitimate comment. And a lot of people made it. So I have a feeling that there's probably some truth to that.
Yeah.
It's very cozy, and you're not
Yeah.
supposed to do that.
Yeah.
But they won't really be able to sort it out for
So,
years.
okay. Well, this is a great question I have now, which is essentially the world that we both lived in of Silicon Valley being this free enterprise right at the end of the Cold War, creating free enterprise businesses in this utopia is now over. And it's now back to national security. And it's now back to, okay, Oracle gets to do this because they're also, doing all the cloud computing for the CIA and everyone
So,
else. Yeah.
so Oracle, part of what you're talking about here is Oracle. We've talked this a number of times. The key issue in technology is being relevant.
Mm,
We talked about it with Satya Nadella, who kept Microsoft relevant, even though they were not visibly very far along in AI, and they kept relevant by doing business with OpenAI.
mm,
And um, so Oracle has always managed to stay relevant,
yeah.
and
Oh,
through
interesting.
many
Yeah.
generations of technology. It started as a database company, but then it became an applications company, and then it became a server company. And I mean, and Larry Ellison is smart enough to know how to keep it relevant. So he's done this massive deal with OpenAI, um, but he's also built a huge data service business
Mm,
um, on his own. So he's run it. I remember, originally that Oracle proposed to buy TikTok,
yep. Yep.
and part of that was they did a deal with TikTok where they created the infrastructure to maintain all the data about Americans on TikTok
Oh,
in a separate infrastructure. And that
whoa.
was probably the very first time that they really understood the value of having that data infrastructure. And now it's a big
Whoa.
piece of their business.
Wait, can you explain what you mean by all the American? Oh, was it surveillance state stuff? Oracle figured out how to.
Now the idea was what Congress was upset about sideways just because a while now was the Chinese had direct access to data about Americans. They didn't like that. They didn't want China to have access to it. So Oracle did a deal with TikTok to build a separate infrastructure, physical data servers um, that would
Whoa.
contain all the data about Americans in TikTok.
Yeah,
Now,
as a
yeah,
prevention of the Chinese
to
having
keep
that
the
information.
Chinese out, to
Yeah.
keep the Chinese out of our data. Um, Now, ironically, TikTok is almost all American, right? It's not
Yeah.
called TikTok in China. I can't remember what it's called, but ByteDance or
Yeah.
somebody has it. Um, so they have a different thing in China. Um, so TikTok also covers Western Europe and everything outside of China. Um, so when they created an infrastructure that separated the data about Americans, um, that was special purpose. But TikTok kept growing. And anyways, I mean,
Yeah.
um,
Well, this
so
gets into.
Oracle,
Yeah. Go for it.
I mean, if you're going looking at this stuff from a marketplace point of view, the key competitors are Microsoft Azure,
Uh huh.
Amazon Web Services,
Yeah.
Google Cloud, and Oracle.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
are the four big data service providers.
Yeah.
There are others, but they're not in the top rank. And even Google has not been very competitive.
So, okay, it's all making me think about sovereignty. So the thought that I was going on is sovereignty. The thought that I was going on was that now we're no longer in the free business, globalized world. Everybody, every man for himself, every business for himself, which was kind of a lie already. But now we're definitely not in that. Now it's about national security. Now we've got the U.S. maintaining its own national security. Oh, it already has been. It's got, we've got the entire cloud network. All countries in the world depend on the U.S. for their cloud network. China very intelligently started first with its sovereignty. And I remember you actually went to China in 97 or 1998 with NEA, maybe on that same trip we started about. And so that like they took that knowledge and essentially put the Great Firewall and then created their own cloud infrastructure, made sure they're not dependent on the U.S. No other country could really do that in the same way that China did to maintain this national sovereignty over their internet. So we've got China, we've got the U.S., Europe's kind of doing it a bit, but they don't actually have any good businesses in terms of tech world. Latin America is going to become part of the U.S. type of thing. So data, you just mentioned something really interesting, which is that the U.S. tried to protect its user data from China. I think accurately, that's probably was a good plan. So data, like this goes back to the surveillance state in the U.S. and my grandfather probably saying, no, don't spy on U.S. citizens. Now, U.S. nation state does consider its data of all the people as part of U.S. sovereignty. Any thoughts there? Any like?
I like how you pronounce it. Sovereignty.
Sovereignty.
It's kind of a random walk through it, but because in the U.S., the government is not supposed to know everything about you.
Yeah.
And there are safeguards for doing that, which Trump may be trampling right now, but historically have been that one piece of the government shouldn't know what the other piece of the government knows about you. Shouldn't be sharing data around you. That's how you maintain privacy of data. So the whole TikTok thing was pitched as national security, but I think it's kind of bullshit because what kind of data people have about? What does TikTok know about you?
Me as an individual,
Yeah.
TikTok doesn't. Well, TikTok has my face, which or not. It doesn't have my face because I never got on it. But TikTok has other faces.
So they have your face anyway. But,
yeah.
So other people post about it.
There's a face, and that face and my thumbnails and my eyelids and are basically all biometric data that allow the U.S. government, any other government, or any other entity to essentially create a profile and establish my individual unique identity with my entire data footprint. So that's all now possible. And so, but even if they didn't have that, they can surveil big data. And I went and watched this or listened to this book called Means of Control that goes into after 9/11, all the steps that were taken in place to essentially allow U.S. citizens to have their privacy only in name, because with the big data, they can essentially surveil all and like anyone based on all the metadata. And there's a specific law in the United States that the U.S. Postal Office can scan a letter, and they can take the address of the person that's being sent to, the return address, and that's all metadata of the letter. They can't open the letter, but they can essentially surveil everything important outside of that letter, and that was then extended to all the other pieces of data on the internet. So they can do phone records, they can do all this stuff. But to get to your question, individually, it just doesn't matter to them. I unless I do crazy stuff, I'm like, yeah, they can put me on a list and they can give me a number, but it doesn't matter to them. I'm just like a small little fish. What I'm really worried about is Trump, but not Trump before him. The Biden administration was also doing this. We're in that cycle, the vicious cycle after norms start getting erased, is that like if somebody becomes a political threat, the government now actually is able to go after them for political speech because all these things are being trampled. So it's like we're on a dangerous road, and it's not like the government itself doesn't matter. It doesn't matter with Trump, doesn't matter with Biden. It's like now we're on that road. So now people can become political criminals just because.
First of all, you have to assign a lot of intelligence to Trump that I don't think exists. I don't think he has any idea what we're talking about. The subtext was when Musk was in there with Doge, he got access to the Social Security database, which is like how much you're getting out of Social Security, how much you've made in money over the last 30 years. There's a lot of real, actually hardcore data in the Social Security database. And his Doge kids were going after that. And nobody knew why. And that's basically because Musk is pretty sophisticated technically. And the Doge kids are too. But your average senator has no idea what they're talking about. And so there was a subtext that Doge was going in and centralizing data about American citizens, and which should be a more efficient way to run the data. But the theory in the past has always been it should be inefficient. So that no one person could see all the data across. And so no one really knows what happened there. Did Musk succeed? Did he, who David Sachs? David Sachs is the chief technology officer of the U.S. government. I think it is.
He's the AI and crypto czar. That's his.
I mean, he's a dude who knows a lot about technology. Anyway, not sure where we're headed with that.
Well, yeah, actually,
we should all be scared shitless because everybody knows everything about us. But there are some people who believe most just give up, and as long as your money is protected and the things you really care about. Anyway.
So we'll take another 5 minutes or so, but this last point is that I'm not actually a doomer, although what I said is very pessimistic and cynical. I think technology itself can't be controlled. We're now heading into really, really decentralized areas of technology with both AI and crypto. And right now it looks like the forces of centralization will own those, but we've got these crazy hackers all over the world who are just disagreeable and aligned with the original intention of the U.S. founders talk about decentralization, free speech, senseless money. And all these people are not going to give up, and they'll just continue to build technological workarounds. And like the cypherpunks of the 1980s and the 1990s, we will actually achieve that dream of technology and freedom. But that's my very optimistic take of the 10 to 20 year timeline.
Utopian as opposed to dystopian.
Yeah.
Well, right now it's really hard to call because clearly Trump was a mean individual and really doesn't give a shit about the things that the rest of us care about. So like I said, sending troops into Portland, Oregon, it's like who are all reacting with Portlandia. Just like, why? Pissed him off, It's like he's going after James Comey and what's her name in New York, and
retribution.
He is all about retribution.
Yeah. I mean, for good reason, because they really went after him, and for the last 4 years, they did a lot of lawfare. Lawfare is the important word here, and that's what I'm talking about. Is that we're on the dangerous road because it doesn't matter what Trump's doing it doesn't matter what Biden's doing it. The fact is, both of them are doing it now, and that doesn't seem like it's going to stop unless we, the people, start, for God's sakes, voting some Congress people with actual technical knowledge and into power, because that seems to be the thing. Yeah. Who? Interesting. Yeah. Tell us who.
God, I can't remember. I've just heard various senators and Congress people who clearly know what they're talking about, usually in hearings asking questions about this stuff.
Yeah.
So there are some, but there are 525 Congress people and 100 senators.
Yeah.
What, 10 of them?
Yeah. It's so weird. All right. Well, I'm running out of steam. But it was a great episode. And we will see you guys next week. So please subscribe on YouTube and Spotify.